Hi, as a part of the Intel PadhAI Ka Future initiative, we are having this discussion today on the evolving role of parents, teachers, and the EdTech ecosystem in times when access to devices, internet, and AI for learning is increasing. For this discussion today, we have Partho Sanyal with us. Partho has been an educator, a researcher, trainer, and an author on school education. He has trained teachers, principals, and leadership of some of the topmost schools and school chains in India. So, welcome, Partho, to the forum.
Thank you.
Partho, my first question to you, as someone who has worked with and researched on school education for more than 40 years, you would have seen the entire genesis of technology and its intervention into learning, right from the age of coming of devices, them finding a place in the schools, then the evolution of internet, now AI, and coming to a stage where devices are almost a default part of our children's lives. In current times, what value do you see devices add to teaching and learning?
They facilitate teaching and learning a lot. They make it two things mainly. Three things I would say. They make it interesting for the children.
Right.
B, more accessible information from a wider range. They make it more accessible to the children. And three, they transform the content into a more viable form. What I mean is compared to something like just plain textual information, they transform it to multimedia, and they bring, they almost add another dimension to content and to the learning. So the pedagogy becomes more interesting, more creative.
Right.
And I think that is how technology has been helping learning processes, but the pedagogy in classrooms.
To the first point, Partho, when you mentioned it facilitates better access, can you further elaborate how devices and in what context is it taking access to more and more learners?
Not just learners, but learning itself. So you see, if you're sitting in your room with your book and you're reading whatever is of interest to you, science, literature, history, your horizon is limited by the text that you have and your imagination. You can go as far from your immediate confines as your imagination can take you. Otherwise, you're limited to the context that your text defines for you.
Right.
But the moment you bring technology in, starting from simple multimedia to now AI, internet and AI, your horizons explode. You're no longer confined to a defined context. Now you can go wherever you want. So you can access multiple levels of information. You're not even restricted to a particular level. Now you can access multiple levels, multiple dimensions of learning, multiple learning curves all at the same time. And yes, what you said about learners too, you through technology, your learning can also become more encompassing. It can include, again, multiple environments. So you don't have to be learning just by yourself. You can be interacting with learners sitting on across the ocean, the other part of the world, and you can be interacting with the learners if the learner is present right in front of you. So the world becomes a classroom.
Yeah.
So these are definite advantages of technology in education.
Very interesting point, Partho, that you mentioned about levels within the EdTech ecosystem, what we term as adaptive. A learner can cut across learning levels, not
Yes.
limited by the grade that
Yes,
you are
not
in.
limited by the grade, not limited by your present capacity to grasp. You can explore beyond your present capacity to grasp, which has two effects. One is it obviously broadens your reach, your heightens and broadens your reach, but it also increases your level of learning challenge. No, your learning level is at A, and because of what you can now access, you're challenging yourself to move up to A plus or A double plus. So basically, there's no one to stop you.
Yeah.
There's no textbook or teacher to say no, this is your level and stay here. You can go anywhere you want. That can of course become a distraction too. I mean, you can go all over the place, but my stand always has been why not? I mean, going all over the place is so much part of learning, and yes, it also makes a difference to the approach to learning. So it's since I have seen this over the years as we brought in more and more technology to the classroom, learning has changed from a linear process to a spherical and spiraling process. You know, you can learn what you're learning and then move up and then come back again and touch what you're learning, then move up to the next level, like a spiral. So this concept of linear learning, to my mind, no longer exists, except in artificial classrooms, of course.
Interesting. To the distractions part, Partho, you touched upon. In fact, that was brings me to the second question: is that with all the value what you shared and what we understand that the devices and learning brings, what are the challenges? What are the and a lot of us, lot of the edtech ecosystem, the parental schools ecosystem is sensing lot of risks, challenges of especially unmonitored and unrestricted access to internet, and especially accelerated by the AI and what it is becoming. So, what do you see as major risks and challenges with the use of devices?
See, a lot will depend on the kind of adult monitoring of learning through devices, learning through the internet, and learning by using AI. So my answer would need to be qualified by that. I mean, what's the level of adult monitoring? And even though I'm using the word monitoring, I'm not too happy with the word monitoring because monitoring never really works with children. So I don't know what other word to replace monitoring with, but let's say a sort of an enlightened supervision, a non-obtrusive supervision of what the children are doing. And instead of drawing lines that you can go up to here, you can't go far. The moment you tell children that this is how far you go, the child will naturally want to push that line. The moment you create boundaries for the child, by the very dharma of the child, he or she will want to push the boundaries.
True.
So in all my years as an educator, I haven't found that to be a very good approach. I mean, but yes, when you have an enlightened facilitator with the children, then everything can become dialogue. You can convert into dialogue instead of issuing fiats or instead of drawing lines that cannot be violated. You can convert everything to a dialogue there. The dialogic process of learning. So I can convert everything to learning because, dialogue facilitates learning. Because instead of telling you don't do this, I'm engaging you in a conversation and what's not good about it. And in what's not good in what context, because everything is contextual. And instead of telling you that you need to be protected, why not make you understand why certain content and why certain things available on the net is not good for you? And why is it not good for you? And all that, it becomes, the dialogue itself becomes a learning, which is so much part of a psychological maturation process.
That's a very deep insight, Partho, because in fact, as you were sharing, we all typically from the industry side, I can share from the EdTech industry side, we typically think about restriction.
Restriction, yes.
MDMs. And the moment you said, I was reminded of a use case in one of the states in India. A lot of tablets were distributed to the students, and a very strong, so-called strong, one of the biggest brands in the country, they put up an MDM, which is a mobile device management,
Okay.
which restricts what apps you can use. And as you rightly said, kids being kids, they took it as a challenge.
Yes.
And over the next few months, Partho, the internet was filled up with news where kids are breaking that MDM, and then using
Absolutely.
all the different apps and things there. But see, from the industry standpoint, a question, that's a fact. But from a technology perspective, how do we get into that dialogue and a fine line of, as you said, enlightened supervision with the guardrails of technology? Do you think that's possible from a technology standpoint? Not where human beings are not directly interfacing?
From technology standpoint, yes, I suppose it's very much possible. I mean, what you're calling a mobile, what did you say, MDM?
Mobile device management.
A mobile device management. So what you're doing is you're putting in a guardrail into the device, right?
Right.
And I don't think the child can break that unless the child hacks into the system, which is not possible.
What I shared, Partho, that's possible. What they did. But yeah,
you see,
it's also
so Puneet, we need to keep this in mind, that a very critical process of any kind of learning is to try to break out of shackles, trying to break out of barriers.
Right.
A lot of learning happens. Some of the highest trainings happen when the learner is engaged in breaking out of a barrier, or not just pushing back, but breaking out.
Okay.
So that's a very critical part and process of learning. So if you create a management system within your device, obviously an intelligent or an above average intelligent child will do whatever is possible to break out of it. And that's how mathematical thinking works. What is mathematics? You have a barrier. It's sort of, you're caged in by the problem, and you break out of it by using reason, logic, intuition, imagination. That's exactly what you do. You put a child in a captive situation, in a captivity situation, and then watch what the child does. And that's how the child will evolve in applied intelligence, how to break out of it. So that's there. We have to keep that in mind. But that will lead to the question, a very important one. How do we protect the child from content that would definitely be disruptive, disturbing, harmful, and even criminal?
True.
So how do you do that? So there I would, if there's no adult supervision or dialogue available, then yes, some sort of a technology embedded in the learning device that will stop you from doing it. And then you hope that the child doesn't break out of that. But I would also add, depending on the age of the child, a lot of dialogue built around this whole theme of safety and harm. The child needs to be exposed to that kind of information, and not to frighten the child, but to make the child more aware. that this can happen. And not just learning devices, this can happen anywhere at all. So you be more careful, be more mindful. So the same thing applies here.
On the technology side, Partho, I think what you've shared is also a research point for us as the EdTech ecosystem, that if we can look at some, adding layers of sensitivity and that supervision within the MDM. So if the kind of a safe environment that we are trying to create within using technology, that also, rather than just being a wall, can be more sensitive, layered, and more supervising.
Yes, I mean, you've used the right word, wall.
Yeah.
Because most of these safeguard mechanisms are largely like walls.
Yeah.
So the good part of that is you're not exposed to, what should we call it, dangerous environments, harmful environments, potentially harmful environments. But the flip side of it is that your learning too is restricted within these walls.
Yeah. And as you rightly said, and the child may have that tendency to try and keep hitting at that wall rather than focusing on the learning part. So that's a very beautiful insight that we can take back to the drawing board.
And some of my most intelligent students, I used to teach, I can recall classes in physics that I used to do with my children, and some of the most intelligent ones would go way beyond their, what should we call it, curricular boundaries, way beyond, and learn the content of their curriculum that much better because they've gone that much far ahead. So this is a part of learning. I mean, the most intelligent students do not stay limited to a curricular framework. They love to go beyond.
And as you shared on the first question, that is one of the biggest advantages of technology.
Absolutely.
It opens up everything for you.
Yes.
And therefore, agreed, I think.
So if I'm learning physics for my class 10 course, why not explore quantum physics as well, which they'll teach me only in college?
Yeah.
Why wait? That is what technology is supposed to be doing.
True. It
is accelerating learning.
True.
And changing the content while learning has been accelerated.
Agreed. So on that note, Partho, understanding the role of technology restrictions and what I could draw is that a more supervising, more sensitive kind of device management, as it evolves in the industry. What role do you see parents playing? Basically, what evolution in the roles of parenting within the scope of devices, and knowing that it is going to become more intrusive, more available in terms of internet.
It's a very critical role, and a very educative role. See, again, engagement in the child's own learning, converting it into a learning dialogue. If you take your child for skiing in the Alps, for instance, before you let your child actually ski, you are going to sit down and talk to your child about the pros and cons of skiing, right? That this is the fun part of it, this is the excitement of it, but these are the pitfalls, these are the dangers. Yep. And in order not to fall flat while you ski, this is what you do, this is how you maintain your balance, and this is where I can help you do that, or this is where you can learn how to use your own skiing gear to safeguard yourself, etc., etc. You will have that kind of dialogue. So exactly the same thing you do with this kind of technology-enabled learning. So you have to understand technology. Children have to understand technology to make the best possible use of technology-enabled learning. Yep. And the way our children are growing, the present generation, for sure the next generation, they will be savvy with all kinds of technology by the time they even learn to, get the alphabet right.
Yeah.
It's already happening.
It's already happening. Yeah.
Even before they can speak properly, they can play with devices the way you and I cannot think.
Yeah.
possible. You and I would probably struggle with the device.
True.
But a kid will come and boom, 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 it's done. And this is going to go on. This is going to increase.
Yeah, true.
Because that's a generational shift that's happening. It's not only are we getting more and more complex and intricate technology, but somehow children are being born ready for that kind of technology.
So, Partho, following up on that point, for parents to be able to have that kind of a connect with the child and also discuss while knowing that the kind of pull that technology has,
Yeah.
isn't it so that parents need to be updated and aware
Absolutely.
of both the positives, the
Yes.
benefits that the device brings and the internet or guarded
Yes.
internet brings, and the challenges that can be there. So,
So-
whether or not our parents are investing that kind of time and bandwidth, we don't have that kind of clarity today. But
They need to. And that too is going to be a challenge, because how many parents would have that kind of time and bandwidth?
yeah,
One point. The second point is technology is already outrunning the parents' bandwidth. They're already, most adults can't, unless you are in that field of technology, you can't deal with so much of technology. You did mention AI. Now, AI is another beast altogether. Even the designers of AI don't know what they're designing and what's going to be the consequences of a very rapidly developing technology here. This is an exponentially developing technology. So how are parents supposed to keep pace? They won't. Very soon, they will not be able to keep pace. They'll be outstripped completely. Even the top engineers these days are not keeping pace with technology. How do you expect parents to do that? So children themselves will do that. They will race with the technology. They will run with the technology. For sure, the next generation will run with the technology. So what I see, if you ask me as an educator, what I see happening is there's kind of a discussion about the harms possible with AI and with internet and open access to AI and internet. That it will be an awareness that will evolve amongst the children themselves. Children do talk to each other.
Right.
If you're taking them to a playground, they will talk to each other about the playground. You shouldn't do that. If you do that, my friend fell and hurt his knee, so you be careful. Children do that all the time. Because children are also children are very careful creatures. If you remove all adult supervision, which we used to do in our schools, we had minimal parental or adult supervision at home and in the school. No one got hurt. If you remove adult supervision, no one gets hurt. Children are very careful, very, very sharp. And they have this powerful, deep-seated instinct to survive and not get hurt. Most children, I as an educator, what I experienced was most children get hurt because of the fears of the parents. Left to themselves, they would never get hurt. And they'll do all kinds of dangerous things and will not get hurt. They will jump from trees and they will play games that any adult would consider, oh my God, that's dangerous, and nothing would happen to them. Probably they'll get hurt a bit and they'll, little wound there, and they don't even bother unless the parents bother or the teachers come and bother. Oh my God, what's happened to you? So that's why I'm saying, if there's no adult supervision, they don't even bother. So this is exactly as I see happening even in technology. There'll be communities of children who will be discussing these things. Children themselves will bring that awareness to them, and they will themselves learn to survive. Just give them a couple of decades, and this is what's going to happen.
That's a very, very interesting perspective, Partho, and actually relieves a lot
Children are
of fears.
intelligent. We often overlook that.
And we become very fearful. In fact, I could see as you were speaking that a lot of our actions, a lot of our narrative is driven out of fear,
Yes, driven out of fear.
and we lose out so much
Yes.
based on that. So I think very powerful insight for the parents, especially when it comes to digital learning.
I mean, if you were to ask me, I would say as more and more technology gets into the classroom, we need more workshops and more learning courses for parents and teachers. It's not the children who need so much of our intervention. It's the parents and teachers who need to learn how to deal with this.
Okay. In fact, that brings me to the next question. What role do you see of the teachers in schools? You mentioned classrooms now. In the same ecosystem, teachers in schools, any specific insights around them?
Again, what I've seen over the last 35 odd years of my working as a teacher, and I've seen, as you said, I've seen the technology come in step by step by
Right.
step. And at every step, I've seen the children becoming increasingly independent. With increasing technology, the children became more independent in their choice of learning, in their methods and modes of learning, and in the actual learning content. They became more autonomous learners. This is what technology does to you. It makes you an autonomous learner. You're no longer dependent on the adult for teaching you. That whole I've seen, and by the time the internet came in, first the big disruption was I call it the first pedagogical disruption was the multimedia.
Yeah.
And that's when the children really started pushing their boundaries, because they suddenly realized, wow, so much is possible. And then the next major pedagogical disruption was the internet. Now it's the AI. And then AI with internet and with multimedia, and along with the virtual reality scenario. Put it all together, and you have a revolution coming to you faster than a tsunami wave. And I feel the children are ready for it. So schools and teachers, I have seen it over the years, have become more and more redundant with the growth of technology, especially after the internet, multimedia and internet. The really intelligent children, they learn on their own. They come to school just because they have to. And most of them are very bored. The really intelligent children are very bored with their classroom learning, because they're learning so much far ahead, and they're learning what they are interested in learning. They're not learning what they have to learn. They're learning what they really want to learn. And when you're learning what you want to learn, and you have so much of possibilities right there in front of you, you will become intelligent. There's no way out. This is how intelligence has evolved and will evolve. So the children are becoming, I've seen it over the last few decades, they've become more autonomous, more creative, and more intelligent in their learning. And as they have become more autonomous, more creative, and more intelligent, the teachers and the school has become less useful, more redundant. And now, if I look ahead the next few years, they will become completely redundant as far as learning goes, content learning. They will become completely redundant. Who will come to school and to teach us to learn what they can learn so much better and so much more effectively with AI and internet combination? So if you ask me, I say the schools will become environments for social development. Social and physical. I mean, if you want to play games, you have to come to the school. You want to do theater, you have to come to the school. You want to learn meditation, for instance, or mindfulness, you have to come to the school. You have to come to the school to learn how to play with your friends, because that's the big pitfall of technology in learning, that it isolates you. The deeper you get into the rabbit hole of technology in learning, the more isolated you become. And that's happening again in front of us. And everywhere I can see that. More when we were growing up, we couldn't think of spending an evening without our friends, playing with our friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come back from school somehow, finish your meals or whatever, and then you have to play with your friends till your parents call you back, and you're forced to come back. But nowadays, I don't see that happening. Children are, even after their meals in the evenings, they're with their devices.
Yeah.
Is that is a negative thing. And I'm far more wary of that than other dangers. That is the main cause for worry. This is alienation and isolation. So there's no easy answer for that.
So, taking that thread further, Partho, if the schools and the teachers ecosystem take multiple steps forward, one would be, as you rightly said, focus on other aspects of child development.
Yes.
For the learning part, if they are adopting technology and devices, which they are, it's a standard,
and you
there,
can't stop it now.
So, can it be that they be the moderators and the guides which the student can continue back in the class at home? Because see, from a industry perspective, I can share that we have been seeing that kind of positive adoption where they be the guides or the moderators of introduction to the benefits of technology, which the student can continue in a personalized environment at home. And plus, as you rightly said, they focus or they bring in the other aspects of physical, holistic overall development, which they are. I think a lot of schools are focusing on that.
So the industry and schools and parents together have to understand a few very important things. First is that children are going to use technology more and more. You cannot stop it, especially with AI coming in, VR coming. You can't stop it. So they will use technology more and more creatively.
Yeah.
And they will learn what they want to learn and what they need to learn. They will not learn what we adults have decided that they should learn. Now, so far, that as of now, most of the technology being built around the learning is still of the old kind. The learning content hasn't changed. You're still trying to teach math and physics the way you would teach in a classroom through textbooks. You've just you're using devices instead of a textbook. So I would say it's a cosmetic change from textbook to a more interesting device. But the learning content hasn't changed much. Now the child has gone way beyond that kind of content. And the child is frankly not interested in learning that kind of content. The child wants to learn things that the universe is bringing to his or her, immediate environment. So that's where I feel schools and teachers will have to shift. I think that will be an important shift from an adult syllabus-centric learning content and process to more learner-centric. And if they don't do it, they'll be left out because it's going to happen anyway. It's already happening and it's going to happen more and more. Learning has already become learner-centered, far more than it was if you go 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Now it's really learner-centered. And children, the intelligent children, are learning at their own pace, and they're learning what they really want to learn and what they need to learn. And they are using technology to the fullest for that. So if the industry and schools and parents, if they don't understand this and respond to this, then they'll be left out sooner or later. It's going to happen.
It's very deep and interesting insights, Partho, for all of us as the industry, as parents, and as schools. I think lot to cover up and catch up with the kids and the technology being used. But as some of the takeaways, what you shared in the discussion, definitely a more sensitive guardrail, more to provide not walls but more sensitive supervision based,
Yes.
and then parents who converse, who understand, and then connect with the students.
And who respect the children's native intelligence.
That's a very important part.
And build that up, build the child's own awareness and resilience. And this is an important point, Puneet. Most children I see who get caught in this technology web are children who are insecure within themselves, do not get the kind of care and attention from their parents that they should. I'm not saying that they live in dysfunctional families, although there are lots of children living in dysfunctional families who fall prey to this kind of technological menace. But also children who are probably not in dysfunctional families, but in families that are not fully functional, not optimally functional. Parents who are too busy with their own things. The children are left to the domestic help or nannies, and children who, just to keep them engaged, the parents will give them a device, and because they have to do their own thing. And then parents who are living in conflict most of the times, and then parents who are not happy and in harmony. Children who are exposed to this kind of, I would say, non-optimal parenting, and who go to schools which are competitive, comparing all the time, pushing for results, things like that, very commercial, competitive schools. So children who are exposed to these environments, who are growing up in these environments, are the ones who fall prey to the technological menace. Very happy, well-grounded children who get the right thing from their parents, who are not pushed, children who are trusted by their parents. When they say, no, I trust you. Hey, man, you're going to do it. Come on. Go ahead. Try it. Parents like that, they don't get caught in these traps. But there's something in them that instinctively and intuitively push back against this kind of online dangers and online menace. So that is something, again, that we need to keep in mind. Solid parenting. That will be I think, the best guardrail possible. Another important thing that happens here is children who are growing up with parents like this are the ones who will also, I have personally seen this, these children will come and tell their parents, this is what I experienced today.
Yeah.
And the parent will immediately say, red flag, and will talk. They won't say, no such, knee-jerk reaction, but immediate scope for dialogue. I feel it's a red flag because of this reason. This is what can happen, and this is how they play. And then stop. Leave it to the child to figure out. Children figure out beautifully. So keeping communication open with your children at all times, where they can come and share with you the good, bad, and the ugly, is the best possible guardrail. It's when children cannot share. That's where all the problems happen.
At a loss of words, Partho, extremely powerful. I think you've brought in a very, very different perspective to it. A lot of work at the parenting. Actually, it's the adults who need more work on this part, and with all the value and the benefits that technology brings in, it's the adults who have to catch up.
Yes.
so
technology is not the enemy. Technology is never the problem.
So great. I think on that note, we definitely see this as an ongoing research. A lot more to be gone into in depth, but an immensely clarifying, valuable discussion to start with. We'll end it here and then hopefully take it forward further again.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.